Hey guys, the other day I made a video showcasing an issue between the chests and the killer item spawns. Those who watched that video, I'll timestamp the recap of that video below so you can skip this if you have seen it. But for those who have just stumbled across this video and didn't watch the previous, basically the chests in the match that spawn for survivors, which can have like items in them such as flashlights, in killer item spawns such as alien tunnels, plague's fountains and Sadako's TVs, use the same spawn locations. Certain killers, mainly the plague, Sadako and alien, require their killer item spawns to be spread around the map, and in case of Sadako and alien, they need theirs by generators, otherwise they have no map pressure and Sadako literally has no power if her TVs do not spawn within 16 meters of a generator. This is because Sadako needs survivors to go near the TVs so she can spread condemned pressure to them and teleport near them to press them also. Alien needs it near generators so we can get a smidge of map pressure, and so survivors don't need to go on a romp through the entity's entire realm just to find the turret to place down. The problem is that chests were taking priority spawns over killer items, so maps like the Swamp Realms and Disturbed Ward, which have guaranteed chest spawns in main building, prevented the tunnels and the TVs from spawning in the main building. To counter these three maps, you could run a cut coin which will remove 2 chests from play, meaning your killer items now spawn in main and you can effectively pressure your opponents. This was known for a while and could be worked around. However, the recent in-game events, namely the anniversary event and the latest Bone Chill events, the respective event offerings which people would use to gain more blood points during the event, also spawned in an extra chest. The result was the game was spawning these extra chests in and then the killer items, and because the chests were taking priority, they were misplacing the killer item spawns by massive amounts, resulting in matches being literally unplayable for Sadako and Alien, as their respective items should be spawning near generators and instead were just being placed around the map. They were spawning next to each other on the other side of the map from the generators they were meant to spawn by, and it was just a complete disaster. Here's some examples of it. I'll start it when my power has yet to activate, as you can see from the charge meter in the bottom left. This way we know that no TVs have been turned off by survivors yet because the TVs have yet to turn on. When they turn on, you'll notice that these 2 generators at the back of the map don't have a TV next to them when every generator is supposed to have a TV within 16 meters of it, so the issue can already be seen. Now you will notice that there are 3 TVs in the main building, and I'll point them out now. You'll also notice how there is only 1 generator in the main building despite the fact that 3 TVs have spawned there, and that's the one that is guaranteed to spawn, the generator that's guaranteed to spawn, that is. Now as we can see, there's still 5 generators left to complete, meaning the game has spawned 2 TVs next to no generators. This TV is actually for this generator over here, not in the main building. The TV at the back of main building is actually from one of the generators at the start of the clip, so one of these 2, which is on the literal other corner of the map. In this screenshot we can clearly see 3 turret stations have spawned next to each other rather than actually next to generators like they're supposed to. This made playing these killers during the events extremely frustrating in Alien's case and impossible in Sadako's case, and even if you brought a cut coin, it wasn't enough to counteract all the chests spawning in. So I made a video alongside a forum post to try and get behavior to fix the issue. It resonated with a lot of people, taught a lot of people why playing these killers was so insufferable during these events, and thank you to everyone who helped push the post up in the forums to try and get it fixed. So that's the recap done. Now, behavior did reply to this post, so what we're hoping to see is them saying that it's under investigation or they acknowledge the issue and they're going to try and improve it. So let's see what they said, shall we? Not a bug. It's not a bug. This is not a bug. It's 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 not a bug. What the fuck are you talking about? It's not a bug. You bunch of... Stop!
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Look guys, I've had to re-record this about 8 times because I've gone off on an unhinged rant, so now I'm going to try and script this just to tame it a little bit. I and many other players assumed that this was just an oversight since there were hundreds of perks, RNG map generation, a bunch of killer powers and 40 plus map, and accounting for everything is just impossible. But it's not a bug apparently. That means it is intended game design from behavior that offerings used purely to increase blood points annihilate killer item spawns in a way that makes these killers either borderline unplayable or actually unplayable. This might be the single dumbest thing that I have ever read from a dev team, which is very impressive because I've read Overwatch 2 patch notes, and if you know, you know. I want to know what you guys are smoking over there, and can you share it with the class, because it must be some of the greatest things on the planet to think that this is a good mechanic to have in the game. Running an offering for blood points that makes certain killers flat out unplayable. Survivors are not running these offerings to fuck over Plague, Sadakos and aliens. They want the blood points. I want the fucking blood points as a Sadako player. I have over 300 of these things on Sadako, and I can't use any of them because if I do, I can't play the goddamn game. Nowhere on any of these offerings does it say, by the way guys, you will be breaking the killer item spawns and making certain killers unplayable. Let's create a hypothetical situation. If English isn't your native language, it's just a fake scenario, but imagine that it is real. We're currently at the next anniversary event. Year 9, I think it is, the 9th anniversary of Dead by Daylight. Imagine the event offering does as it always does, gives 109% blood point bonus for all players in the trial, but at the bottom it says spawns 1 extra hook in. During the event, everyone would run this offering because they want the extra blood points, of course. Who doesn't want extra blood points? Blood points are great. Now, let's imagine that one of the survivors is running Decisive Strike, Lightweight or Corrective Action, and there was an offering to increase the hooks. Now suddenly, whenever you bring in one of these offerings and one of those perks are in play, 4 of the 7 generators spawned on the map were spawned in the same loot. This would mean the killer would just stand next to these 4 generators and guard them indefinitely, making it impossible to win as the survivor. I mean, technically you could win if the killer was actually brain dead, but for all intents and purposes, it would be a loss. Then use Tell Behavior. Hey guys, these perks that there's no way of telling are in play until you're actually in the match are for some reason interacting with the hook increase offerings and making the game unwinnable for the survivors. Could you please fix this so we can participate in the event without it just being an instant loss? And Behavior turned around and said, oh no, that's intended to work like that. We've coded the game so that if you enjoy running Decisive Strike, Lightweight or Corrective Action, you better just hope that no one is running those offerings now and for the rest of the time that you play Dead by Daylight, since we've coded it in to be essentially an instant loss. Wouldn't you turn around and go, why the fuck would you design the game like that? Why is it an instant loss the second we load into the game for simply wanting to use these perks and someone else in the match wants to increase the blood points for everyone else in the match? It would be an extraordinarily moronic mechanic, but that's just what anyone who plays Plague, Sadako and Alien needs to deal with every time we boot the game up. Every time we boot up a match of DBD, we just have to stare at the offerings and pray to God that no one is running the increased chest spawn offering, otherwise we're going to be literally gameplayless. We simply can't enjoy or engage in any event that has increased blood points anymore because people will no doubt bring the anniversary cobbler which spawns in extra chests and it will just delete our power. I'm curious, do the license holders of these characters know that you're fucking over these characters with offerings that should have no interaction with them? Now here, I was going to put a clip in of Matteo Corte on the Slasher radio, but I don't know if they're going to copyright strike me. They probably won't, but I'm not going to risk it. So I'll just timestamp below a link to their video where you can see the quote for yourself. But I'm going to quote Matteo Corte here. He said, I believe we've earned the trust from everyone now, right, over 10 years. You can look at Dead by Daylight and go, yes, one of my favourite things from horror is in there, and look how they treated it well. Look how they've represented it in a way that honours it. Ah yes, nothing says honouring 2 of the scariest characters in horror quite like being defeated by a toy chest. Back in Ringu 1 when Yoichi saw the tape and his mum was panicking to keep him alive for 7 days, little did she know all she had to do was put a couple of toy chests around the house and Sadako would be a threat no more. Yoichi would be able to live the rest of his life scot-free because Sadako is apparently allergic to chests. At the end of Alien, one of the greatest movies ever made, when Ripley gets into the escape ship and blows up the Nostromo to kill the alien, but it turns out the alien had already got into the escape pod and she had to eject it. Silly Sigourney, why didn't you just put a bunch of toy chests around the Nostromo? What are you, dumb? That's all you need to counter the alien. Look, I know I've been memeing in this video a lot, and that's because I tried to substitute anger for comedy. Usually I give the devs the benefit of the doubt, but this is completely unacceptable as a game mechanic behaviour. 2 of the 3 most affected killers are paid for only licensed killers, meaning the only way that we can get these characters is by paying real money. And the fact that anyone who enjoys these killers in the Plague can just never engage with any future Bloodpoint event because in your infinite wisdom you think an offering you cannot predict deleting a killer's power is a good idea is the single dumbest thing that I've ever heard a dev team admit to in my 26 years of gaming. We can't use Bloodpoint offerings ourselves that aren't streamers. We can't use chest perks. We can't play against survivors playing some interesting build that involves chests. We can't play certain maps, and we have absolutely nothing that we can do about it as enjoyers of these killers to mitigate negate this mechanic. No killer, absolutely none on the entire roster, should ever have their power straight up deleted by any perk or offering ran by the opposing side, because this isn't Overwatch. We cannot counter swap killers on the fly, and we can't see what builds they're running. We can't see into the future and tell when a survivor is going to bring these offerings into the match, and even if we could, it still shouldn't be a mechanic. This being an interaction does literally nothing to improve the game for either side, and if you see this behavior, stop and revert the change, because this is anti-gameplay. We should never be forced to exploit the task manager closing bug just so we can use our killer power in a match. Anyway, no outro for this one, guys, because quite frankly, the situation is too depressing to be offset with the amazing work of Astro. I'll see you guys in the next one.